Okay, imagine that you are brought into an organization and they ask you within 4 months, turn $350,000 a month being spent on paid advertising into $84,000 worth of profit. Sounds like a big job. It was, but it's also possible, and it was one that we just took care of. So I'm going to back you up a little bit and give you some behind the scenes information about how you can turn paid ads profitable in as little as 4 months. A lot of times when it comes to paid advertising, people don't actually know really that it's just like any other growth engine out there. It's a matter of figuring out the inputs, changing them, and seeing profitability on the other end. So let's talk about how you do that. In this particular case, this was an extremely competitive environment. And on top of it being an extremely competitive environment, the company that we're talking about had never been profitable before. So they were spending $350,000 a month in paid advertising, and they were churning out 550 leads per week, which sounds great, except again, they weren't profitable. It really was as simple in this case as going underneath the hood and starting to look at seasonality. See, this was a cyclical business and it really spiked at the beginning of the year and started to come down in Q2 and definitely Q down in Q3. And then as Q4 came, it started to go back up. But they weren't spending on paid advertising equally. They weren't thinking about, hey, during those strong months when demand for what we do is high, we can actually take that money and then reinvest it over in the weak months. And on top of that, we don't have to spend all of our money on Google ads. We can actually try things like G2, Capterra, Bing ads, other forms of paid advertising out there that will allow us to get more exposure at potentially a lower cost. And for those of you who are familiar with paid advertising, you know that Google wildly swings your results if you move too quickly in terms of spending up and spending down. So that's exactly what we did. We just changed the decisions and the strategy, and we added in seasonality so that making sure they were able to actually have ads that worked and didn't require any advertising changes on the back end. We weren't changing ad copy, we weren't changing landing pages. We did nothing other than look at the seasonality of the business and making sure that that's the part that worked. Because it wasn't about the creative in this case, and it wasn't about the ads, and it wasn't about, oh, AI is coming in, and so paid ads aren't going to be effective. Not at all. This was a situation where there wasn't clear ownership of the outcomes. And so, because of that, they weren't profitable in terms of understanding where and how they could apply levers to this growth engine. Really quickly, what we were able to do was go in and make those changes, make some adjustments to negative keywords. That's what helped as well. But they really quickly started being able to hit $84,000 a month in profitability. And this was the first time that the company had ever been profitable in the entire business organization's history. So they had been around for 7, 8 years, and this was the first time they hit profitability. So the takeaway here is growth isn't always found in the places where you think it's going to be found, and it isn't always as hard as you think it's going to be. Sometimes it can be as simple as just taking a different lens and looking at things in a new way to how can I solve this problem that will allow me to continue to hit the number of leads that I need to, but in a way that better uses the budget. Obviously, the finance team was very happy, so was the sales and marketing team. But there is a really big takeaway here, which is you really need to make sure that marketing, sales, finance, and product are always on the same piece and always on the same page. And that's what we call the growth layer. And that's what's really important as you start to think about your business. It's not uncommon for you to see great results like this when everybody's singing from the same hymn book. So that's my challenge for you today. Think about your growth layer. Think about how your go-to-market team is working today. And if you're feeling a little bit shaky, come talk to me. Happy to do some digging with you and figure out where you might be able to get some support. Have a great day.